As I'm putting together this episode, Kilauea just wrapped up its 49th episode of its Eruption, and the prediction is that the next episode could kick off just right around the corner as the time of this episode goes live. That's the kind of right now detail that matters with Hawaii travel planning. The islands are literally alive, and what's true in May might not be true in June. So in this episode, I want to give you the real current picture of what's happening in Hawaii this summer, where the crowds are, where the prices are, what the volcano and the weather are actually doing, and a few things to know if you were booking a trip to travel smart this summer to Hawaii. Aloha and welcome to Hawaii's Best. I'm Brian Murphy, Hawaii destination expert and your personal guide to planning an unforgettable trip to Hawaii. If this is your first time joining me on this podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And if you've been here for a while, welcome back. Today's episode, I guess, is kind of one of those state of the islands check-in moments. I like to do these a few times a year because Hawaii travel is not static. Prices shift, conditions change, and what was a great deal in April can be sold out by July. So let's get into exactly where things stand heading into the heart of this summer 2026, because I know many of you are probably going to be visiting the islands sometime this summer. So tip number one, we're kind of at the edge of this quote value window. So if you're still deciding when to go, here's something useful. I think that would be helpful is that travel data is showing that visitor volume and pricing start ramping up like right after June 20th. And that builds towards a peak around 4th of July. So if you're booking for, say, the next week or two, you're still catching a bit of maybe a little bit break of price before things to get into full summer mode. I said it before, like early June can kind of be like a sleeper cell, if you will, because crowds aren't really at peak summer yet. And chances are, if you have family like I do, kids are out already by that time. And that first week or two of June might be a great time to go. I know we're already past that window for this year, but if you're planning for 2027 or beyond, that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. But really after that, after 4th of July, you're in peak season pricing and peak season crowds through early August, kind of easing up once schools get back in session on the islands and on the continent. So this matters because Hawaii doesn't really have an off season really anymore the way that it used to, but there are definitely some ebbs and flows throughout the year. So if your dates are flexible at all, even shifting a week or two can really make a difference. All right, number two, talking a little bit about hotel and resort pricing reality. Throughout all the islands, average nightly hotel rate currently, from what I've seen with the data, is somewhere around $370 a night during this summer. Now that's average. I know I've stayed at many places well above that. Maybe you have as well. And I've also stayed at places that are below that, depending on the time of year. But that number hides a lot of variation by island. So on Oahu, it tends to run a little bit lower, especially if you're staying in Waikiki area. The average there is what I'm seeing is around $250 to $300 a night. Just because there's more inventory and a wider mix of property, you can get usually a better deal if you're staying in Waikiki. Now, Maui, on the other hand, has been running, considerably higher. So we're talking about at least 500 plus a night on average in a lot of those resort areas, because Maui's overall room supply is still smaller. Maui is just more expensive. It's more sought after. It's thought of a more luxury type of island, but also the inventory isn't as much. So now these are averages. Don't come after me. These aren't quotes or anything like that. Your actual rate depends on the property, the island, and how far out in advance you book. If you're putting a budget together, these are ranges that kind of give you a good ballpark. I also have a 2026 trip planning calculator that I'll link below in the show notes too that will be helpful. It's free to use. No need to give me your email or anything like that. Just go ahead, follow the link below, and you can just type in your numbers and just keep running that calculator until it makes sense and the maths. Number 3 is we see this usually around high peak seasons, and rental cars are tight again this summer. Really, rental cars are one of those things that catches a lot of first-time Hawaii visitors off guard. And really, this summer is no exception. During these peak weeks, daily rates can run anywhere between like $200 to $300 a day, depending on the island, depending on the type of car. And on islands with less rental supply, like Kauai or the Big Island, that squeeze is even tighter this year. So outside of peak weeks, you can sometimes find rates down as low as $40 to $85. I think the lowest I've ever paid is like maybe $60, $65 a day. So that kind of shows you how much the price can fluctuate. So my advice on this hasn't changed. Book your rental car as early as you possibly can because availability, we've seen this over the past years, especially on Maui. I think it was a couple of years ago where supply was way down. So the risk is real, and especially on islands like Maui, Kauai, or the Big Island, you definitely need to get a rental car. So get that in, lock that in as fast as you can. All right, number 4, Kilauea in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island has been in this episodic, so kind of start and stops eruption pattern for months now. It's been short, intense, eruptive episodes. Some of these huge fountains, you've probably seen some of the pictures, some of the videos, really cool. And as of mid-June, the volcano is in one of those pause periods, sitting in a, quote, advisory alert right now. So scientists are watching that. But here's the thing to kind of take from this is, don't be worried. You don't need it canceled or your trip to the Big Island. There isn't any advisory risk to that. If you do want to see lava, though, you just need to keep in mind that the best time for viewing lava is going to be early morning or, in the evening time because, you can see the glow and the lava, but you can still see it at night. If there's a fountain, big old fountain going, you can still see it. But keep in mind, if there's lava, there's crowds, especially during summer. It's just going to be more waiting and bigger lines. So be aware of that. Plan a full day if you do want to go over to the national park. I just did a full episode about that. So I'll link that below, spending one day in the park and also kind of a Big Island travel guide. Both will be linked below. The next one is really important, especially visiting Hawaii for the first time. And it's just understanding ocean conditions. So high surf and tides are a real factor, especially on the south facing shores. The swell starts to pick up a little bit. There's been this high surf advisory for the last little while and king tide events this season that have made certain beaches more dangerous than they look. So summer in Hawaii often means south facing shores picking up swell, and this combined with these king tides, which are just like these unusually high natural tides, you can easily, surprisingly, get strong shore break and currents even on days that look calm and sunny. So my advice here applies to both. It is, one, you never want to turn your back on the ocean. That's just like one-on-one. Never turn your back to the ocean. Respect posted warning flags and signage. And if a lifeguard or local tells you a spot isn't safe that day, believe them. They don't want to go out and have to rescue you. Even if everything looks calm, they know. So heed their warnings. Hawaii's beaches are some of the most beautiful in the world. Maybe you're going to Hawaii just for the beaches, and they also deserve real respect. Next one, I did an article recently about the hurricane season. It's in Hawaii. It's officially underway, and it is projected to be an above average hurricane season. I did a post all about that, and it went semi-viral on social media. And it's not to scare anybody. It was just reading what forecasters are saying. So basically what they're saying is Central Pacific hurricane season, it runs basically from like June through November. And this year, forecasters are calling it an above average season. So that's something like a 70% chance of above normal activity with an expected range of 5 to 13 named hurricanes in the Central Pacific. So that doesn't mean Hawaii is expected to get a direct hit. In most years, the islands track a season without hurricane hitting island, but it does mean it's smart to keep an eye on the news during your trip. I'll do my best to update that as well if there's anything in the forecast, but that's just something to just be aware of. For flights this summer, there's a lot more options, especially if you live in SoCal like I do. Southwest has been kind of making a run towards just kind of competing back in the Hawaii game, competing against with Alaska. And they've opened up new routes, actually one pretty local to me in Ontario. They now have a direct Ontario, California to Honolulu. So if you're a fan of Southwest, or if you just want a cheaper way to get there, that might be good looking at. Alaska, Hawaiian have also opened up some new routes at Burbank. So if you're in the Valley, those are some options as well. I actually did a full post all about the new flights. But one of my friends just texted me. He said he got like a really great deal and he's going to Maui in like 2 weeks. So they're out there. I know Southwest just did a big deal, big week of wow or something. I think that's what it's called. But honestly, your biggest spend for your Hawaii trip isn't going to be flights. It's going to be your hotel, your resort. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of attention gets made on flights and getting good flight deals. That's important and that's good. But really, it's going to be about your hotel and where you're going to kind of make home base. Now, the bigger picture, I've seen conflicting reports where visitor numbers are down, but spending is up. I've also seen reports saying that visitors are up and spending is up. The gist of it is spending is obviously up because things are more expensive. I think a lot of people read those reports or maybe the officials report and like, hey, people are spending more money. Well, I think the reality is, hey, it's just more expensive. So when you see those numbers, it feels like a lot of people aren't traveling as often to Hawaii, at least from what I'm picking up on and just kind of like on the ground conversations, on the ground meaning like DMs and emails and stuff like that. You see a lot of people in forums and in groups saying like, yeah, I'm not going to be traveling to Hawaii anytime soon because they just don't have it in the budget, or they're kind of getting tired of all the new rules and reservation requirements. And I've done episodes on that. And that's a real thing. Maybe sometime I'll dive more into that because I'm seeing more exhausted travelers, mainly repeat people who have been going to the islands like I have for 20 plus years, seeing the change and seeing more hoops. Now I'm glad to learn the hoops and jump through the hoops, but it can be exhausting. And we're ones to not pack our itinerary. So if you are visiting this summer, you do want to make sure that, if you are wanting to go to Diamond Head, or if you want to go to Ha'ana State Park, those types of places are going to be requiring advanced reservations. Haleakala, Sunrise is going to be advanced reservations. So that's something you're going to want to check. Any activity that you want to do that's on your itinerary, just double check that, you don't need a reservation for it, because I would hate for you to get all the way to Hawaii and just, get turned away. You get up early, you go do Haleakala Sunrise and you get turned away at the gate. I don't want that to happen to you. So everything you do, just double check with official sites what reservation you need, when you need to make it, and how you need to make it. I've been doing my best at creating like a tool that helps you do that. A lot of it is changing, so I'm kind of waiting the next month or two. I will be releasing that, but I'm just kind of waiting for some of these things because there are some new reservations coming. And once I have that out, I will let you know to help you with your trip planning. So if you are traveling to Hawaii this summer, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and send me a DM at hawaiis.best on Instagram and be happy to answer any of your questions that way. So thanks again for joining me on this episode. I hope that it was helpful for you if you're planning to visit Hawaii this summer or any summer. And if it was, just go ahead and hit follow on your podcast app, and then you will get notified the next time I release an episode, which will be this coming Tuesday. All right. So until next time, as always, live with aloha. Mahalo for listening to Hawaii's Best. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure to hit follow on your podcast app so you don't miss future episodes. You can find all links and resources mentioned today in the show notes below. Hawaii's Best is produced by Shorebreak Media Group, edited by Easy Podcast Solutions, and with music by our friends Stick Figure.